Hi, welcome to Mark Codes on YouTube, and today I'm going to talk about Shopify Remix and billing, and I'm going to show you how to get that up and running. Now, all I've done prior to starting this video is I've created a new Shopify app with the npm init at shopify/app at latest command. I've called that billing demo, and then I have just gone into that folder, and then I've opened that in Visual Studio Code here. If you don't understand how kind of Shopify Remix template works, I did another video where we worked through the QR code project together, and I talked through a lot of how this Remix stuff works. I'm not going to go into that today, but there are a few things you need to do to start with. So to start with, we're going to go to terminal and we're going to run npm run dev. Now what that's going to do is it's going to start a development environment for our app, and when this is the first time you run it, it's going to ask you a few questions as well. So it's going to say, do I want to create it as a new app, which I do. I'm going to call this billing demo. If you haven't linked your CLI up with your Shopify partner account, then you'll obviously need to do that as part of this as well. I'm going to put this on my developer store. And I'm going to say, yes, I want to update URLs, which will just make life a little bit easier for us later on. So then we've got two URLs at the bottom here, and what we want is this one here where we can use to go and install it. So I'm going to just copy that onto my clipboard, and I'm going to go into Chrome, and I'm just going to pop that up here. And I'm just going to hit install. Okay, so we've got it installed. This is the kind of general Remix template screen that you see to start with. We're not really going to do much with this throughout this video. We're just going to ignore it and let it there. We just want to know that we've got an app here. And I'm just going to pin that to make life a bit easier. Now, the other thing we need to do before we write any code is need to go into our Shopify Partners account and go to Apps on the left-hand side here. And then I'm going to go into this particular app we've just created, Billing Demo. And we need to set a distribution for this before we can set up billing. So I'm going to hit choose distribution. And in order to have billing, it must be public. So I'm going to hit select and select public distribution, and that is done. So that's all we need to do here. It's still installed here. So we're going to go back to our code editor. And there's a few places we're going to need to set some stuff up. To start with, we are actually going to set up a model that will help us with our subscriptions and managing those. So what we're going to do is in the app folder here, we're going to right click, we're going to choose new folder, and we're going to create a new folder called models, and then we're going to right click again and choose new file, and we're going to call this subscription.server.js. And basically this is where we're going to handle some of our queries about getting subscription status and things like that. And this is just going to mean we've got some reusable code we can use anywhere in our app. So we're going to create a function, and it's going to be an asynchronous function that we export. So I'm going to put export, if I can spell, we're going to put export async function, and we're going to call this get subscription status, and it's going to take GraphQL, which we will pass in because we're going to need that to make the query. And then we're going to set up our GraphQL query. So we're going to say const result equals await GraphQL, and just do that so it's all tidy. Jump onto new line, and we're going to open these. What I will do at this point is just make this a bit bigger so you can see it a bit more. So we've done that, and we'll just shrink that down a tiny bit. So we've got these, and we're going to do the GraphQL, jump onto new line, and we'll type query shop because we're going to query the shop. And we're going to say app, and we want the installation, we want the launch URL, we want active subscriptions, and then the data we want back from active subscriptions is we're going to want the ID, we're going to want a name. We'll have created at, we'll have return URL, which is like that. We'll have a status, we'll have current period end, we'll have trial days, and we'll have test. And we'll see what all of that looks like shortly. And then we've got, wherever it's closes here, we also are just going to pass in this empty variables object, which we won't actually pass anything into because we obviously don't need any variables for this, and we could probably miss this out, but I'm just putting this in just in case we want to update this, and it just reminds us that we can add variables there if we want to. So that's what we need there. And then what we're going to need to do is we're going to want to grab the result from our result up there. Actually, it makes no sense to call it result. We're going to call this request. And then down here, we're going to grab something called response. And response is going to be await request.json. And then all we're going to do is just return our response. Now, I just saved and that's just tidied it all up for me, and that's all we're going to put in this subscription server file. And basically we're going to use this to find out if a shop has a subscription or not, and if it doesn't, we're going to do something with it. So next we are going to go to our shopify.server file, and we're actually going to set up our subscription. So to start with, we're going to create a constant at the top here which we can export. So export const monthly plan, I'm going to call it, and that's going to be a monthly subscription. And this will be what we'll access elsewhere. And then within this Shopify setup, we are going to add some billing stuff. So we're going to put it just here, and we're going to say billing. And this is where you can put in any plans you want. So you could create multiple plans. You could have like a yearly plan up here as well if you wanted to, and give the user the option to choose one. We're just going to do monthly plan. So we're going to say billing is going to be monthly plan. There we go. And then it needs some things. So we're going to say the amount is going to be 5. The currency code, we're just going to do in US dollars. You could potentially look at doing this based on kind of the shop if you wanted to, or your own currency, it's up to you. Interval, we're going to need to grab something else here. So we're going to need to grab something called billing interval, which comes from, I think, it comes from up here. So we're going to grab billing interval. If I can spell interval, and that comes from the Remix server. So here we're going to say billing interval, there we go, and we want this to be dot every 30 days, I think it is. I'm sure that's right. Let me just double check. I have got a second file open, so I'm just going to check. Yep, okay, yes, so it is every 30 days. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say trial days is 14, or you know, you go 7, it's entirely up to you, and that's all we need to do in here. And then the final thing we need to do is wherever you want to kind of invoke your subscription, you need to set something up there. Now, for the sake of this being really easy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my roots folder here, and I'm going to grab app.jsx. Now, if you're familiar with Remix, you know at the top we've got this loader function that runs when you load the page. And by default, it grabs the Shopify API key and authenticates the user and does all this kind of stuff if you want it to. But what we're going to do up here is we're going to just run that billing function we set up in our model and see what we get. So initially, we're going to have to tidy this up a little bit, so I'm going to keep that line for now, but what we're actually going to do is we'll say we want, we're going to pop this up here. So what we actually want from here is we're going to want admin, we're going to want billing, and we're going to grab session, although we may not actually use it. And then what else we're going to need is we're going to need our function that we set up in subscription server. So we called it get subscription status. So we're going to import that at the top here. So we're going to say import get subscription status. There we go. It's auto completed from models subscription server. We don't need that. Okay, that's fine. So what we're going to do here is we want to get our subscriptions. So we're going to say const subscriptions equals await get subscription status, and if you remember up here we said it needs to have GraphQL passed into it, and that actually comes from the admin object from authenticate in the Shopify Remix template. So we're going to say admin.graphql. So we can just pass that in nicely like that, and that will grab subscriptions. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to console log subscriptions, and I'm going to save that for now, and we'll come back to setting our billing thing up in a minute, but let's just see what we get. If we refresh this page and go back to our terminal, you'll see that it throws this out. So there's some data in there. So the structure of this is it's got an object, it's got data, it's got app, it's got installation. So if we go back to our code, you'll see in our subscription server we said app and installation, and then active subscriptions. So what we want to do is get this active subscriptions object. So we're going to go back here, and then we're going to say const active subscriptions equals subscriptions dot data. Where was it? It was dot app dot installation, wasn't it? Yeah, so we've got data app installation, so it's going to be in here, I think. I say I think, I know that because we know that it's in here. We might have to, yeah, data app installation. So data app installation and active subscriptions is going to be in there. So if we just wrap that there, that will grab that for us from there. We could equally just say active subscriptions and put .active subscriptions, but we won't do that. But let's just console log that now. And the thing with the remix template is every time you save, it gets re-rendered on your front end. So I'm going to save this and then jump straight to the terminal because that will have been re-rendered. So you can see it re-rendering here. So there you go, it's just there, and it's an empty object because we've got no subscriptions set up at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep this for now, but we are going to set up a subscription. So what we want to do, say for example this was an app, and what we wanted to do was force the user to set up a subscription the first time it loaded if they didn't already have one. So if active subscriptions is empty, then we're going to want to set up a subscription. So we're going to say if active subscriptions.length is less than 1, which of course this is an array, so it is currently less than 1 because it's 0. Then what we're going to do is we're going to want to call our billing function that we pulled in here, which of course comes from here. So then we're going to say await billing.require, and this is all documented in the Shopify documentation, and this requires an object. And this require takes an object. I'm just going to put them there. And this takes a few things. So firstly, it takes plans, and it needs the monthly plan. So what we need to do is import our monthly plan from shopify.server. There we go. So the plan is monthly plan, because that's what we're going to set up. If you had more than one plan set up, you could pass in your, I don't know, yearly plan or whatever it is you wanted to force the user to do. Of course, you could also have a series of buttons, and the user could go monthly plan, yearly plan, and then you'd run this based on their input. We've got something called isTest, and we're going to say this is true. This means we can put this through and not be charged any money. If you do make this live and deploy this, it's really important you explicitly set this to false. You can't just remove it or it doesn't work. It must be set to false in order for it to actually put through a live plan, because the default for this is to test. So if I didn't have this here at all, it would still go through as a test payment. I'm not really sure why Shopify does that. It's irritating, but we're going to do that anyway. And then we've got a function here called onFailure, and it's an asynchronous function. And what we're going to do is, if this fails, so if they haven't got this, we're going to say billing.request. And again, we pass in some similar things into this. So again, we're going to say plan is monthly plan. We're going to say isTest. Again, we're going to say false. We're going to say true, but make sure that becomes true when you force this live. In the Shopify documentation, they don't actually show this, but as I've discovered with live apps, you must have this here or it doesn't work. And then your customers are just setting up test things and they don't pay any money, which of course is bad if you want to make money from your Shopify app. And then what we have after this is we have a return URL. And this is where we want to send the user back to. I might have just put that in the wrong place. Let me just check. Nope, I just need to tab it back. And return URL, we are going to do, what I'm missing is missing a comma, that's the problem. And return URL is going to be https / and we're going to need to grab the shop that we are working in. So we can grab the shop from the session. So I'm going to create a new constant up here called shop, which is going to come from session. And that is just the shop name. So like for me, it's Mark 2D developer. So we're going to do shop, and then we're going to want to send them back to admin /apps / whatever our app is. So this is mine. So we've got billing demo. It's called billing demo 6 because I guess other people have got billing demos. So we'll do that. If you're following along, you probably got like billing demo 10 or something ridiculous. And we are just going to do /app, which means we will send them back to this page once they've done it. Okay, I think that's all we need to do here. So I'm going to hit save. And what I'm going to do this time, if you see the console, we've still got this empty object. But if we come back here, you'll see that this is trying to refresh. So I'm going to just show you again. I'm going to click my billing demo app on the side here. And you'll see what happens is it tries to load the app. It runs through that code we've just put in. It says, hang on, there's not a bill. And it says, we're going to approve a subscription. So it's a test, so you're not going to build for it, but we can approve it to test this out. So we're going to hit approve. And then of course we get redirected back here, and here we are. And if we go back into our terminal here, we can see that we now have something in this object. So we've got an ID for that subscription, we've got a name of it, we've got when it was created, we also have how many trial days and if it was a test subscription, and also the status of it. So that's all data you get back that you could do something with if you wanted to. For the sake of my app, we don't actually need to do anything with that because this checks if they've got a subscription on load, and if not, it asks for one. Okay, so that is how you set up the billing API. I'm going to put out a second video showing you how to conditionally render something if a user is subscribed. So for example, you might create an extension which is used on the front end that you only want a paying user to access. So I'm going to show you how to do that and how to tap into the Shopify billing webhook in a second video that's going to come out in about a week. So subscribe to this channel if you want to see that first. I hope you guys have found this video useful. If you get questions, stick them below, and I'll see you guys again soon.